The question I was going to ask second, I'll ask first, just because, in a sense, for me, most of my thoughts and desires revolve around a certain spiritual balance. My second question I'll ask first, to me, seems...
A certain spiritual balance, does that have anything to do with what we were just talking about balancing the energies of your point of attraction?
Absolutely.
All right.
This question seems, in a sense, unspiritual to me, but it certainly has caused me a lot of internal resistance, so I'll bring it up. So I'm a climber, which I've mentioned to you before, and I also develop climbing cliffs. And I'm in a position to write a book for an area, which I've already started on. I want to write the book for the area. I'm the only one that can write it, at least at the moment. But a big part of me has a lot of resistance to wanting to finish it because, one, I want the nature in the area to maintain its naturalness and not just have an influx of a huge amount of people coming in and taking it from a raw adventurous area to a recreational area. And the other part of me is a little bit probably personally concerned that forest lands and park lands have certain policies in place to try to discourage new route development. They all know that it happens. We've been climbers, we've been doing it for decades, and their general gist is just don't let us know about it. And this place has a tremendous amount of development that's happened, and I don't want to cause any sort of legal issues or anything like that.
Well, you are articulating precisely what the first part of your question was about. I'm talking about you want to explore and really understand this balance of this energy. And then you demonstrated with your second question how you want this that you don't want. I want this thing that I do not want. I want people to enjoy this magnificent place, but I don't want them to come here. I want to show them all of the possibilities, but I don't want them to come. And this is just one example of what you all are doing all the time. What you really want is satisfaction. We know that's a word that you are tired of hearing already, but let's just play with it for just a little bit, because we've been telling you for a long time that everything that everyone wants, no matter what it is, a material object, a relationship, a pile of money, a circumstance, an event, an empire, whatever anybody wants, they want it because they believe they will feel better in the having of it. So it is satisfaction that you are all innately reaching for. It's just an understanding of where satisfaction comes from. Is it possible for you to get so good at focusing your thoughts that you only focus upon the positive aspects of people reading your book and coming? Is that possible? Yes, it's possible, but there is an easier way of going about it. And we think the easiest way to discover that path is through alignment and finding your own personal satisfaction first. So maybe it's not the rules of the Park Service. Maybe it's not the government rules or norms about not seeking out new routes that's bothering you. Maybe it's what our friend before you was just talking about. Maybe it's about teaching people to align and follow their own inclination. Maybe it's realizing that what's been your joy in all of this is figuring out where you want to go and figuring out a way to go. Are you following a beaten path that somebody else laid out for you? Are you following a book that someone else presented? Or have you been getting into alignment? Have you been letting nature help take you to a place of desire? And have you been letting your learned skills then follow the impulse or the inspiration that's coming to you? What we're asking is, do you think you're at odds with rules, or do you think that what's feeling uncomfortable to you is you don't want to be their guide? You want to introduce them to their guide. Maybe your book's more about coming into alignment and following your impulse and the wonder and amazement that comes from doing that than laying out a specific trail that they might follow that you found surprising and delightful. This is such a perfect conversation to be having in the middle of this larger conversation, because here we are saying to all of you, you have an inner being who will guide you along your path, and here you are wanting to write a book about the path that your inner being guided you on that you want others to follow. Can you feel the difference? Did you hear what we said about that?
I guess I'm slightly unclear on, I'm unclear on that, I guess.
We can make it clear. And you're close enough to the receptive mode on this. You're a little jumbled up in it, so you can't quite hear it. A lot of them heard it. So, do you think that when you get out in nature, that you are more aligned than usual? Do you think that nature just coaxes you into alignment by its beauty and its magnitude, its magnificence?
You're, of course, reading my thoughts, so yeah.
Its vibrational accuracy, its realness, its perfection. So when you get out there and you get all tuned in, tapped in, turned on, you're in the receptive mode. And then you feel an impulse, and that's how you're discovering these new trails, these new places, these new vistas, these new wonderful experiences. And part of you worries that if you write a book, it's a deep part of you, it's not come to your conscious mind yet, but what the discomfort is about is that if you write a book on where to go, they'll follow you rather than their own guidance. The path less traveled is always the most exhilarating path. And it's because it's the path most inspired by my own true nature. But if I'm following a travel log that's somebody else, then you end up in Jerusalem with another 1 million people who are there at the same time, looking at a place where Jesus might have walked.
So I'm worried that they'll follow me.
You started out with 2 very powerful things that you wanted to talk about. And one is that spiritual balance, you called it. And we're talking about the mix of vibrations that you've got going on. And so we feel that you're worried that writing the book will somehow upset not necessarily your spiritual balance, but maybe someone else's. And think about all the conversations that we've had here today and how much of them led to this point where we're saying to the next person who's sitting here, who is you. We said it to the last one too, so there's a little momentum going about it. Our friend just now does not want to be the guidance for her children. She wants to be the example of one who finds their own guidance. And so it'd be like her writing a parenting book that says, I've lived a lot of life and I've unpacked a lot, and these are the do's and don'ts of living life, children. And so do these things and you'll be happy, and don't do these things and you'll be happy. And we could call it a religion because that's what most of the religions are saying. Do these things and don't do these things. And this is the word of whatever. Put God on it and make him perk up a little more. So we think that what's off in your own balance of energies is that you really want to guide them to their guidance, not to the place that your guidance has guided you, not to the manifestation. You're wanting to teach them to get ready for their discovery. You're not wanting to write a book about what you discovered. Can you feel the difference? And oh, what a conversation to be having today. Now, guidebooks are wonderful, but you didn't sit down and say to us, I want to write a guidebook and I've got some good ideas, because if that's what you'd said, then that's what we'd be talking about. But you said, I want to understand my balance of energies and I'm having a hard time writing this. And the reason you're having a hard time writing it is because the way you are perceiving it to be is off from the other premise that's so important to you. So how could you write a book that would inspire others to their own guidance? What would a book say that satisfies all of those intentions that you hold? It would be a book about the beauty of an area, the feeling of discovering something that is new. We've been saying to you for a long time, and those of you who've been listening to us have undoubtedly heard us say, when you get into alignment and tuned in, tapped in, turned on, and when you're on the high-flying disc and when you get into the vortex and blah, 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 how many years have we been going on with one analogy after another to try to get you into the receiving mode? And then you hear us say, and when you are in this receiving mode, then you'll live happily ever after. When you're in that receiving mode, then more and more and more and more and more and more and more will unfold. It's the same thing again and again and again and again and again. You're not wanting to be guided. You're wanting to guide. You're wanting to discover what surprises and delights you. So how can it be, Abraham? How can it be if I'm the creator of my own experience and I'm making all the decisions about it? How could it ever surprise me? I can see how it would delight me, but how could it ever surprise me? And the way it surprises you is because you've put so much in, and there's so much potential of it lighting up in this moment, in this moment, in this moment, that it is possible for you to be surprised and delighted in every moment. But if you're just following someone else's trail, it's like, have you taken those guided trails where you put the earphones on and you stand at this post and you listen and you look? Yeah? Yeah, I can see that. And then you walk to the next post and you listen and you look. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, there were definitely Indians here then. Yeah, yeah. Now we know we're really exaggerating what your book is about because you don't intend to hammer posts in the ground out there. There are rules against that, we are certain. But what you're all taught about, what you're all excited about, is your own discovery. So you're wanting to guide them to their discovery, not to what you've discovered.
Are you saying I should or should not write the book?
We're saying that we don't think it's possible for you not to write the book. We're saying that the impulse to write that book is a very strong impulse. We're saying you are really qualified and ready to write that book, but we think the book you're wanting to write is different than the book you have in your head. There's an inspiration for a different book that's coming through, and that's what this conversation is all about. I want to do this thing that I don't want to do. Well, you've got to completely want to do it before it's going to flow in a really powerful way, you see.
I guess there are two resistances that I am aware of with the book. One is I don't want to disrupt anything legally, nor get involved in anything of that nature, because that's just not what I'm about.
Well, what if your book was not just about this place? So are you saying to us that you've explored an area and you have found surprise and delight in it that is so far off the beaten path that you're wanting to guide others who are ready, who are strong hikers, who are good at their skills, to get off the beaten path and discover some of these places too?
Sort of. I mean, it is.
What are you saying? As far as writing the book, what is it? What calls you to writing it?
Well,
because you said, I'm the best one to write this book, at least for now. You said, why are you? What is it that you know that others don't know?
For whatever reason, and it's most certainly a spiritual unfolding, not my own articulation. My climbing career landed me in this one area. There was unbelievable potential.
Potential for what?
Potential for climbing, for adventure, discovery,
good
and
places
new
to climb and beautiful things to see when you climb.
Right.
Yes.
So over the course of many years, I've developed this entire area, mostly myself, with one or two other partners. And I'm the only one that knows most of it. And a ton of people know that I know, and they want to know where to go and what to know, because I'm the only one that really knows. This
is the basic question that we have for you, and we're just going to make your example fit into what we're teaching, so too bad for you. Because this is really what we want you to hear out of this, and it's really what we've been driving at in all of the hours that we've already been talking here today. We're going to give you a multiple choice, so you can't get too far from what we want. Do you think that you're ultimately wanting them to walk where you've walked in order to see what you've seen? Or are you ultimately wanting them to experience the same feeling of discovery that you felt when you discovered it?
That's the easy one. I absolutely want them, the second one. I want to share everything that I have been shown through Spirit, because I certainly couldn't have made all this happen. It's just been guidance one after the other.
But here's our question to you. Do you think Spirit showed you so that you could show them what Spirit showed you? Or do you think Spirit showed you so that you could teach them that Spirit will show them too?
I would love to do the second.
That's the book. That's the book. There is so little satisfaction in go over there and then go over there and then go over there. You might want to teach that to true beginners, but true explorers They want to go where nobody's been before.